excited to be here today to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects in the whole world. Not what you're expecting, fashion. That's my favorite subject. Yeah, so why do I say that? Men, no, tune out. We're going to get to you in a second. So these are shoes, sort of like I'm wearing today. You probably can't see them all the way down there, but they are high heels. And I know that you probably wouldn't expect, so I'm a former lobbyist congressional staffer, to know anything about God's biblical call to justice or what you might be able to do about it. But I'm hoping to unpack that for you. So, as I woke up this morning, As I woke up this morning, I started to think, what do I wear to represent an amazing group of people? If I wear my hair up, you might think I'm too stuffy. If I wear a suit, like what is that all about? It's a Catholic conference, right? I know as leaders in your churches, you probably struggle with one of these same questions when you get up to talk, right? Can I get an amen? Anybody ever struggle with that? Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough decision, but this is what I came up with. So what you got is a professional suit jacket. I'm telling you that I'm relevant and I pay attention to trends. Got skinny leg jeans on. And you know, we are 25 miles from New York City, and Fashion Week just ended this week, right? So if anybody was paying attention to that. So I thought I'd tell you, yeah, okay, I got it together. But most importantly about my outfit, I want to tell you that I want to represent our clients and staff in the most professional way possible. So at IJM, we've come to be known by our suits. So much so that we actually have a social media campaign called Behind the Suits. So if you're friends with us already on Facebook or Twitter, you might have seen some of our videos come across. So it's a way for us to tell you that, like Bethany was talking about, many of our staff actually transitioned their professional skills into God's work of justice and actually helping us end slavery around the world. So what I want to do now is, I know that I'm very excited to listen to, but not as exciting as my colleague Mark Fluke, who was the former director of NCIS. So I'm going to show you his behind the scenes video this morning.
All right, who's got the questions? I was a very temporary actor on the NCIS LA show.
Excuse me, sir. The director would like to know if you intend to bring charges.
Tell the director that is a distinct possibility, Agent Cookie.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
But I was actually the director of NCIS. I was on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I grew up wanting to help people. Back in high school, I joined the volunteer fire department, became an adrenaline junkie, and then realized that I could get that fixed through law enforcement. My love for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service is hard to hide. Special agents having to do the entire spectrum of felony criminal investigations, counterterrorism operations, and the counterintelligence operations. It was just an absolute blessing to be there for 31 years. As great as my career was as the director of NCIS, I felt like there was just something missing. And fortunately, I found that here at IJM. I felt right at home because my immediate staff is former law enforcement as well. I thought I'd seen pretty much the worst of the worst. But I came here to IJM and saw some stuff that really shocked me, particularly as it impacts children. But what I love about IJM is that holistic approach, rescuing the victim, but also helping the local justice system hold the criminals accountable for their criminal activity. When you realize that these helpless victims have no other alternative, we're there for them to help these children who otherwise have no hope. That's what keeps us going. And I think that's the beauty of IJM.
So when I'm not wearing high heels, I slip on my favorite little Crocs, and this is my favorite shoe for being in the field. Because why? It's rubber, right? You can wash it off, and it's clean, and it looks exactly the same. So when I go to the field with my husband on medical mission trips, we had a chance to meet some survivors of trafficking. So these are a couple of the girls on the top right that I got a chance to meet, and they're just amazing. But it gave me a real sense of the violence of these little girls and families feel every single day. So at IJM, we choose to attack slavery by eradicating violence and transforming justice systems. We call this the locust effect. So I'd like to show you a little video of what we mean by the locust effect. The Locust Effect came out a little over a year ago, and it's a great book. We were selling it for a suggested donation out front, but if you like to read, I definitely recommend that book. So as you can tell, God, and as Bethany so eloquently stated from stage, God's heart is just on fire for justice. Now, about 3 years ago, I was sitting in your same seat. I was a lobbyist at the time, and I had just heard about this issue of trafficking in a church. And I had an opportunity to go to the Justice Conference. So our founder, Gary Hoang, was there. And after hearing him speak, my heart was just on fire. And I felt, gosh, I was just restless, you know, in my career and in life. And I thought there's something more that I would do. And I hope that you guys are in that same place as you're sitting here today. So what I'd like to do is just tell you a little bit about what IJM is actually doing and how we got started so that you have a little bit of background on that. And then, like Bethany said, she'll close out on what your churches and you can actually do to help. So, this is a picture of Gary, and the picture at the bottom might be shocking to you. So it's a church in Rwanda. So Gary is a lawyer by trade and worked at the Department of Justice. So the UN actually put him in charge of the Rwandan genocide investigation. So he ended up in Rwanda as the guy in charge, trying to figure out what could the U.S. have done to stop this and why did it happen. So this is a church, and what you're going to see in the aisles is actually a pile of bones, no kidding. So in those communities, churches are, you know, this gathering, and people rushed there in order to be safe from the violence that they were experiencing. And so what Gary ended up discovering, so his goal was to sort through these thousands and thousands of mass grave sites in churches. And what he discovered was, you know, at that moment, right before, you know, a guy with a machete came down and killed all of these people, it wasn't, you know, the clean water, the extra bag of rice that they wanted. Rather, they wanted someone to literally stop the guy, you know, the hand of the guy with the machete. And so out of that, he founded IJM. So that's why I say that getting violence and corruption out of those government systems is kind of how we attack Indian slavery. So, Gary had a chance to unpack this kind of complex idea at TED. Who's ever heard of the TED Talks? Yeah, so you guys are more informed than I was. So we just finished a TED Talk in April, and thankfully I was on that team. It was so exciting to get to put together slides for that, and you know, think like this is such a complex, huge world, you know, global issue. How do we distill it down to a couple of slides that people in 15 minutes can digest? So what I'm hoping is that, one, you'll go watch that talk when we're done, and two, that I can tell you a little bit about what we ended up saying in that TED Talk. So I'm just going to read these slides for you. So violence today is the most urgent threat for millions of the poorest people. 2, violence is an everyday threat. According to the UN, 4 billion people live outside the protection of law. That means that in their public justice systems, where police, courts, and laws are so broken and corrupt that they actually work against the people. So you can't run to the police for help, rather they're the source of the problem. So imagine, what if a violent criminal in your neighborhood had no fear of being caught at all? That's the question that we're uncovering. What if you call the police and no one came to help you? What if there was no way to get justice if someone harmed your child? So in the TED Talk, we actually played a 911 call that was out of Oregon, where a lady was living in a rural community and somebody was breaking into her house. And they had actually cut funds in her area. So when she called 911, no one was there to help her, and the man ended up raping her. And so it's just one of those examples. We take it for granted in this country that there are police to help you if you need it, but it doesn't exist for people in the rest of the world. And so that's what we're trying to do, to stop that. So for poor people throughout the developing world, this is everyday life. No defense, no protection, nothing to hold back violence. Not just the violence that makes headlines like war or genocide, but common criminal everyday violence. So what does this mean? It means that if you live in one of these communities, work isn't safe for you. Nearly 30 million children and men and women live in this sort of slavery or this bondage every day. Children aren't safe. 2 million children are exploited in the commercial sexual industry currently. For millions more, sexual violence is a part of childhood. It means the streets aren't safe. Instead of teaching their children that help them, like I said, the police are not there to help them and they're dangerous. It also means homes aren't safe. So we work also on property grabbing cases in Africa. So this would mean if you're a widow, your only source of income providing for your family is your land. So you grow everything that you need and you raise all the animals that you eat. But if your husband dies and you're a widow, anybody who's stronger than you physically can come and take your land, kick you off of it, and then you have nothing. So we also work on those types of cases. So IJM protects the poor in several different ways. We have 4 main pillars. We rescue victims, we bring criminals to justice, and then the question that you're all wondering about is, do we share the gospel afterwards? And the answer to that is not during the rescue. So we have serious aftercare partners, and depending on the type of activity that we rescue people out of, they go into those aftercare programs, and that is where they will hear the gospel. So that's exciting. And then we strengthen justice systems, which is just a fancy way of saying we rid corruption from those governments. What I'd like to do is talk to you about Project Lantern, because what you're probably wondering is like, oh, that's fancy, you know, all these fancy terms, but does it work? So yes, it does work. That's the experience. So in Cebu, Philippines, let me go back to my notes here so I don't get it wrong. Let's see. We received funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to test whether we could protect children in Cebu from traffickers, ensuring that the Philippines' laws against these things actually work there. In partnership with the local government, we trained lawyers. Let me see if I have another slide for this. Yep. So that's kind of a representation of what we found when we worked there. We trained lawyers and police. We assisted local law enforcement with rescue operations. We helped local organizations strengthen victim aftercare and represented victims, ensuring that their cases would be heard in court. So we set a really lofty goal of reducing the amount of minors, that's girls under legal age, sold for sex by 20%. So after just 4 years, we not only reached our goal, we exceeded it. So we saw a reduction of 79%. So what that tells you is that once you start actually persecuting the criminals that are doing this, they just stop. It turns out they're not so brave after all. So once you start actually taking them to court, they just stop. They find other ways to make money. So right now we have 6 casework types. The 6 are up here: police brutality, property grabbing, citizens' rights abuse, slavery, sex trafficking, and sexual violence. And then our current stats right now look sort of like this: 18,000 people relieved from oppression, 13 plus officers and officials trained, 770 convictions. And then we work actually in 19 communities right now, so that's gone up. So we work all over the world. Like I said, there are different casework types in each different office, so depending on what's prevalent in that region. Forced labor and sex trafficking is really big in India, the purple section. And then Latin America, same thing. And then property grabbing is really prevalent in Africa, so a lot of the property grabbing work is done there. And then blue offices that you'll see, one is our headquarters in DC, and the other blue offices are called partner offices. So they also raise awareness for us in Australia, UK, Germany, Netherlands. So that's exciting. So this is going to be a video of a rescue that we did in Mumbai. Does anybody ever see like a live rescue? Probably what you're all wondering, like, did we actually do it? Is there video of it? There is. So my colleague at HQ, her name is Mindy Mizell, and she's basically a field reporter. She's the director of public relations. And what you're going to see is a Skype interview between she and our field office director, his name is Sanjay McLaughlin, after they rescued some girls in Mumbai. And you should actually see the video of them being rescued.
This is Mindy Mizell, Global Public Relations Director with International Justice Mission based in Washington, D.C., talking today with Sanjay McLaughlin, who is the Field Office Director in Mumbai. Sanjay, thanks for joining us. It's a privilege to be able to talk to you across the other side of the world. Would love to talk to you about the rescue operation that was conducted on September 20th, 2014. I know 6 girls were rescued, and IJM went through a very thoughtful, in-depth process. What happened?
Well, on on last Saturday, as you mentioned, we were able to rescue 6 girls after a rigorous rescue operation along with Mumbai police. So as we entered with the police, we could not find any girl there, and we were frantically looking for these girls for nearly 45 minutes. So we kept looking, hitting at walls, trying to figure out a hollow space. Finally, after 45 minutes, we could find one spot, which we then requested the police to break open. And after a couple of minutes, as we broke that spot, there was about 2.5 feet wide little hollow space that we entered inside, and we heard girls crying inside. And we asked these girls to step out, and then they were crawling and coming out. And as they were coming out, they were just crying and crying. And we saw more than two. There were 6 girls inside, and they came out. Yeah, so basically, we were very happy to rescue all 6 of them and arrest once again all those 4 traffickers who were exploiting them.
What was going through your head the moment you realized that there were really girls behind that wall?
First reaction is shock. That how could you force uh, your girls like that? In fact, in this particular brothel, as we crawled inside that tiny little space, it opened into another big room, which was hidden from any human eye. And as we inquired, that room was used to break those girls. When I say break those girls means when the girls are brought new into this work, they refuse to this work. So they keep them inside that room and they rape them there and they condition them so that when they are ready, then they bring them out where they serve these customers.
Wow, it's just shocking to hear you describe this. Now, congratulations to you, the IJM team, and the Mumbai police officers, who I believe were also trained by IJM. I know so many people are going to be asking, how are the girls doing today, and how many are in care now?
Well, just to the beautiful moment, even during the rescue is this. When they were crawling out of that cavity, they were crying, and we all were like standing outside and watching them cry. Just after 10 minutes, I would say 10 minutes, they were all smiling. As we talked to them, as we counseled them, they were all smiling, smiling because they are free. They are free, and I would like to call it this way. Perhaps the distance between tears and smile is freedom.
Like to just in my time with the little quote that says justice is doing for others what we would